Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
And welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Marshall. I hope everyone is doing well. It's been a lovely weekend, a lot of action-packed football. The final day on Sunday, that was probably one of the craziest game days, of this year. So we're going to look back onto it. We're going to cover Spain, we're going to cover England, we're going to cover Italy. We're also going to cover France because there's a new champion in France. So yeah, real quick though, I hope you guys are enjoying the content recently. Right now, I am on vacation. I'm busy. There might be some little audio. It'll be a little bit of audio discrepancy. There's a lot of, right now, they're currently power washing my condo as I'm trying to sit down and record this, which is kind of awful. So if you hear any background noise, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to do the best I can in post-production, try to nullify it out. But yeah, from that being said, let's jump right into the last Premier League day. There's a lot of stuff going on. Premier League's always been action-packed. We're going to cover a couple games and their implementations on the title, And so with that said, let's get right into it. So the first Premier League game we're going to cover was actually a pretty big one, which I got my prediction wrong, unfortunately. So I said this is Matchday 30 in the Premier League. Leicester City, Tottenham. Leicester City needed to win in order to secure Champions League football. However, they lost 4-2 from Tottenham, and Tottenham were able to climb up into the Conference League just over Arsenal, which we'll talk about later. And Leicester unfortunately fall to 5th, where they are in the Europa League, which I think is unfortunate because they played really well this season. It's just unfortunate, kind of stumbled right at the final block. But looking at the game, Jamie Vardy had 2 penalty goals in the 18th and 52nd minute. Harry Kane scored early on in the 41st minute. Kasper Schmeichel had an own goal. He kind of got megged. And then the first Gareth Bale goal in the 87th minute, I think should have been called back. There is a handball from Harry Kane right in the box, I'm really surprised VAR didn't review that and overturn it. I was talking to some of the guys in the World Football Illuminati, and yeah, we really thought it should have been overturned. It's unfortunate, but then Gareth Bale ended up with another strike in the 96th minute. I mean, he's been good for Tottenham. He definitely helped secure them, the Conference League, where they'll be playing teams like Union Berlin in that league. And it's it's good for him coming back to his boyhood club. And from there, the club where he kind of first got a really big recognition coming back from Real Madrid. And I mean, he hasn't lived up to everyone's expectations this season. He hasn't played a ton of games. He's been, injuries and, sometimes golfing. But no, Tottenham were able to climb up over Arsenal, who won their game, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, so Tottenham were able to come out 4-2 winners quite easily over Leicester City right at the end. Up next, Wolves, Man United. Man United 2, Wolves 1. Elanga's first goal for the club. I'm pretty sure Elanga's first goal for the club. That's, I think, how you pronounce his name. Nelson Semedo then equalized for Wolves in the 39th minute, and then Juan Meta scored a 45 plus 4 minute penalty to possibly his last ever Man United goal. And that's kind of sad to see, but Man United were able to come out 2-1 winners, hold the second spot, which they were already going to. But looking at some of the stats in this game, Wolves actually dominate possession. They're usually a very counter-attacking team. Actually held possession. They had 14 shots, 4 on target, 58% possession, compared to Man United's 9 shots, 4 on targets, and 42% possession. Now, I guess Man United must have been a lot more clinical in this game. And it's Man United were able to kind of run over easily with this. And again, when you have teams like Bruno and when players like Bruno, Juan Mata was able to play. This game was a lot tough. And Angela got his first goal for the club, which is always great to see. And I know they kind of played a weaker lineup. They're preparing for the Europa League final. And I did say Bruno Fernandes plays it, but he did not. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I meant to say Juan Mata. But he's kind of playing a weaker team. He's kind of preparing this team for their Europa League final up against Villarreal, which is going to be a tough game. Up next, we're going to look at West Ham. They comfortably beat Southampton 3-0. Thanks to two goals from Pablo Fornals within the 30 minutes and the 33rd minute. Back-to-back real quick. And then Declan Rice secured the game in the 86th minute with a nice goal to finish it off. And West Ham have now secured Europa League football. They're in 6th place. They're comfortable there. Their season's ended. They were all they had to do was just win and make sure Tottenham didn't catch them on goal difference, and they just won. That for them, they're quite in easily. And looking at this game, West Ham actually had barely any possession. They only had 36% possession. Southampton were able to dominate with 64. Southampton had 17 shots compared to West Ham's 4. West Ham were more clinical with 7 shots on target compared to Southampton's 5. And if you hear any background noise, I'm really sorry. I just heard like a rocket go off, it feels like, but I know they're just power washing. Now, looking within this game, I mean, Pablo Fornals has kind of shown his worth. He's been kind of a solid, consistent player for this team. Thomas Suchek has also been great as well, and Declan Rice has, made himself a very valuable defensive mid, and he's definitely going to the Euros. If they don't, he's got snubbed. But yeah, this is good to see. And I mean, Jesse Lingard really has changed his team around, and I think he should stay there. I think he should try to extend his loan. I think he's definitely a much better fit at this West Ham team than with Manchester United. Even though Manchester United could use a player like him, it just feels like Jesse Lingard's way more comfortable there, and I'll say that. So now looking forward into the next game, Sheffield United Burnley. This actually came out to be a 1-0 victory for Sheffield United, kind of their last way to send off their final Premier League game before they head back down to the Championship. And looking at this game, these teams, David McGoldrick got the goal in the 24th minute, and from there, it kind of just a standstill. There wasn't, 12 shots for Sheffield compared to Burnley's 10 with 3. Both had 3 on target. Burnley actually had possession more with 57% compared to Sheffield's 43. And I don't know, it just felt like this game just was a lot of foul-induced. Sheffield had 11 fouls compared to Burnley's 1. And, that's a lot of fouls. And then, kind of playing rough and dirty, but Sheffield managed to squeak away with a win, but they will still finish 20th with 23 points. Earlier on this season, they had very little points. They were I think down to 11 or something. People really thought they could become the next Derby County, who finished that season with 13 that one year, and they got relegated down, haven't been up since. So, that being said, we're going to move on to the next game. Fulham, Newcastle. Newcastle will able to come out 2-0 victories. And I did predict I think I predicted Joe Willock to score another goal, and he did. He scored in the 23rd minute, and Fabian Schär with a nice penalty sealed the game 2-0. Now, Joe Willock has been fantastic for this team, and it's going to be a big miss. But however, Newcastle didn't even have that much possession. They only had 35% possession. They were very just comfortable sitting behind the ball. 14 shots for Fulham compared to Newcastle's 10, but Fulham had 0 shots on target, and poor Marco Bielsa's side, they just didn't live up to expectations this season, and that's kind of unfortunate. They played really well. I feel, not Marco Bielsa, excuse me, he's Leeds Fulham manager. Poor Fulham. I just don't know. I feel really bad for this team because they came up, they had a lot of expectations. A lot of people thought they were going to do well, but instead they're just heading right back down. It's unfortunate to see, and they're just heading back down. So, very quick, easy game to cover. Up next, Leeds United West Brom. Leeds won 3-1. Very, very simple game. Rodrigo scored another goal for them. Calvin Phillips and Patrick Bamford scored another goal in the 79th minute with a penalty. And Robson Kanu scored right at the end to deny a clean sheet. Denied a clean sheet for Kiko Casilla, who's, he came back from Real Madrid. He's been playing there ever since. And this game was very very easy for Leeds. Leeds dominate possession 65% to 35. They had 17 shots, 9 on target. They're very clinical compared to West Brom's 14 with 5 on target. And they also had a way better pass accuracy too, with 82% going to Leeds compared to 70% for West Bromwich Albion. Now, as we go back into more of these games that happened this weekend, we'll talk about Arsenal real quick. Arsenal needs to win if they want to qualify for the Conference League and hope that both Everton and Spurs drop points, but unfortunately Spurs didn't, so Arsenal kind of got snubbed out of the Conference League. They finished 8th, which gives us a whole week to prepare before games, which is always great. Nicola Pepe got a nice brace, some great goals in the second half, 49th minute and 60th minute. Very simple game for Arsenal. Possession was pretty even, 54% to Arsenal compared to 46% for West Brom. However, Arsenal had 16 shots, 5 on target compared to Brighton's 5 shots and 1 on target. The defense was able to kind of snuff them out. And looking at this, Arsenal kind of have impressed recently. They've had the third most points since Christmas. They were able to pick up 47. Manchester United picked up 48, and Man City I think have picked up 40 or 53 or something like that. Excuse me. But yeah, they've had the third most points, and Mikel Arteta has not really had an off season to prepare this team. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. And I'm excited to see Nicola Pepe ends 5 Premier League goals in 3 games. That's exciting to see, and I want to see that from an upcoming player who we paid a pretty expensive price for. He's our most expensive player ever. And I don't know, it's just sad that they really haven't had time to prepare. Remember, Mikel Arteta came in right before COVID, and then COVID hit, kind of had to deal with the team a little bit then. There was no football going on, and then he kind of got them through the COVID season, and then they went right from COVID season into another Premier League year, kind of without a real big break to prepare this team. And he kind of was able to steer the ship well. I know we didn't do great in the first half of the season, but I think he just needed some time to kind of adapt and get this team back underway in a very competitive league. So yeah, very simple 2-0 win for Arsenal. And yeah, that ended up quite easily for them. So moving on to the next game, actually kind of a big upset. Aston Villa 2, Chelsea 1. Bertrand Traore and Anwar El Ghazi with a penalty goal. They were able to get 2 goals for them quite easily. Then Ben Chilwell tried to level it up in the 70th minute, bringing the score back to 2-1. However, Cesar Azpilicueta was sent off in the 89th minute, kind of really ending a chance to come back for the team. And I don't think his ban applies in the Champions League. It's just Premier League. But looking at this game, Chelsea were absolutely lethal with possession. They had 72% possession compared to Aston Villa's 28. They had 23 shots and 7 on target compared to Aston Villa's 6 with 3 on target. And yeah, I mean, Chelsea had almost more than double of Aston Villa's passes. They had about 600 compared to Aston Villa's 250 exactly. And with a way better pass accuracy, too, with Chelsea's 88% compared to 69% for Aston Villa. But the man to talk about is Emiliano Martinez. He is great. He's a solid keeper. He's holding that line for them. He won their player of the season, and rightfully so. He's a former Arsenal guy, and he kind of got, he had a little bit of challenges there with Bernd Leno trying to become number 1. He kind of was established himself right towards the end of last season, but he knew it was time to move on. He spent at the club for 10 years and kind of can't waste away his chances anymore. But he's been playing great, and unfortunately, Arwan Mendy, they took him out. Kepa was able to come back, came in for him, but Mendy, if he has a little bit of an injury and they want to save him for the Champions League final because we know how important he's going to be for this team. And looking at this team, they actually played a pretty strong team up before the Champions League final. I know they have a week, but they played Timo Werner up top, Pulisic Mount on either wing. They had Chilwell, Kovacic, Jorginho, and Azpilicueta along the kind of the midfield / wing backs. Then Rudiger, Thiago Silva, and Reece James in the back. And I don't know, it just feels like they played a very strong team, even though they needed to win to get Champions League. But luckily, because of Leicester dropping points, they were able to stay right in 4th and win and get into Champions League. They'll have to qualify, obviously, but they were kind of lucky, able to get away with that. So, kind of an unfortunate result for Chelsea, but it kind of doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, as they did end up qualifying for Champions League. Now, the champions Man City go up against Everton, an easy 5-0 rout. Sergio Aguero got a brace. Those were probably his last 2 goals of forever for Man City. I think he beat Thierry Henry's record That's been beat, I think. But he's really proven himself to be one of the best goal scorers of all time. Definitely cement his place as a Premier League legend. Kevin De Bruyne opened up with a lovely outside the box goal in the 11th minute. Gabriel Jesus then quickly followed up in the 14th. And then the second half, Phil Foden struck pretty quick in the 53rd minute, and then Aguero with a brace in the 71st and 76th minute. Man City had 21 shots compared to Everton's 8. 11 shots on target for Man City compared to 3 shots for Everton, and they absolutely dominated possession as you expect in a Pep system, 68-32. Man City also had a 91% pass accuracy compared to Everton's 79, and that's a very, very high pass accuracy, especially when they're stringing around over 600 passes. They stringed around 725, and yeah, looking at this team, Man City have really cemented themselves as the team to beat, and they're going to definitely go into this final with a lot of confidence after routing this Everton team, which can put up some good competition. And yeah, this team has really shown itself. I know you could say oil money or not, but Pep is a really good manager. He's bringing the best out of Phil Foden, Zinchenko as well, who we've kind of all thought he's going to move on eventually, but he's really kind of stepped up and shown himself. Not necessarily in a sense of like, oh, we're going to spend it, like, sell him on for a high price tag, but he's really kind of grown into this team. The Ukrainian might be one of the next people to lead this upcoming Ukraine team forward. They just got added back into FIFA 22 or 23, one of the two. But, yeah, and Ruben Diaz, as always, impresses everybody because he is exceptional in the back with John Stones. And it's going to be exciting to see them play together for the Champions League final. And, yeah, this Man City team has kind of shown itself to be prolific, and they have a lot of depth, too. They have Gundogan didn't even play. Sergio Aguero, Laporte, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, Ferran Torres, and Mendy. And, they have this team. This team is so strong and so deep. Like, even if someone is injured, they have players to step in for them. So, yeah. Zach Steffen is the first American ever to win the Premier League, which is a great statistic to hear. So, finally, last game, Liverpool Crystal Palace 2-0. Sadio Mane with a quick brace. I think I predicted a 2-0 win with a Salah and Mane goal, but Mane got both, which I'm pretty close to my result. Then very simple Liverpool game, 19 shots compared to Crystal Palace's 5 with 5 on target. And actually, Crystal Palace were pretty clinical with 4 on target. They didn't score, but at least they were on target and not just missing the mark like Fulham. Liverpool had 70% possession compared to Newcastle's 30%, and passes 50. Newcastle had 588 passes compared to Crystal Palace's 263. As we look into the final game of the season, they were able to pull off they were able to leap up above Chelsea in a third after kind of being around 5th and especially with Leicester and Chelsea dropping points. And at a time, Liverpool were sitting right in 8th, and they were able, right around kind of January time, they were able to climb all the way back up and secure themselves qualification for the Champions League. So I also want to talk about expected goals real quick. As we kind of expected Man City to win, as we're looking in, there's an expected and actual table, and with expected points. So basically, there's a whole system called expected goals, and with that comes expected points. And so I have kind of a table up here. So Man City were expected to get around 84, 85 points, and they ended up with 86. Chelsea were expected to get 78, but they kind of ended up around 6. They ended up with 67. Man City or Manchester United were actually pretty close. They ended up with 74. Then Liverpool were kind of expected to get around 70, and they did. They got 69. Then Manchester United were again expected to get around 66, but again, they got above that. They were able to get 74. And then up next, they actually had Brighton finishing 5th. They based on expected goals, they had Brighton finishing with 63 points. But however, they did not. They finished with 43 points, which is a little bit different than kind of what they're anticipating. 41 points. Then up next, they had Leicester in 6th with around 60 points for Leicester. And that's kind of close, but Leicester at 66. Arsenal are then up next with, again, 59 points. But however, the Arsenal exceeded that. They got 61. And West Ham were supposed to be level them with 59 points. However, they got 65 and kind of showed up their prowess. And then after that, Tottenham, Aston Villa and Tottenham were kind of expected to be the same, around 54 points. However, Aston Villa kind of fell down. They kind of hit the mark there at 55, a little bit above what they were. And Tottenham kind of shown up, and they were able to get 62, qualify for the Conference League, as I said earlier. And then Everton, it was Leeds and then Everton, with Leeds supposed to have 53 points. Everton's supposed to have between 51 and 52. And Everton and Leeds both had above that. Leeds had 59 points. Everton also did have 59 points. Aston Villa ended the season with 55 points. And after that, they kind of predicted the bottom quite well. They had Wolves, Southampton, Newcastle, Fulham, and kind of like a downward diagonal. And actually, it was Wolves, and then Newcastle, then Crystal Palace, and then Southampton. With them, Brighton was slightly underneath them with 41 points, and Burnley underneath them. So they had Burnley underneath them with 39 points, And they actually had Fulham up quite high with 43 points. However, as we know, Fulham got relegated with 28. Then finally, they predicted both Sheffield and West Brom to have about 30 points, when in reality, Sheffield had 23, West Brom had 26, and Fulham had 28, as we talked about earlier. And yeah, that was actually a pretty close comparison for both of these teams. But that's enough about me rambling about the Premier League. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Italian League, then we're going to talk about the Spanish League, and then we're going to finally wrap the show up with a new champion in Spain. In France. Wow, I do not know my countries, But don't you go anywhere. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I will be right back.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football, from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
And welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Marshall. And if you guys missed the earlier section, if you somehow fell asleep during my monologuing, we talked about the final Premier League match day, what that meant for the table, Spurs kind of leaping up to the Conference League, Arsenal being denied European football for the first time in 20 plus years. And yeah, we kind of just covered that real quick. And now from there, we're going to kind of hop over, we're going to take a plane right into the EU. We're going to go talk about Serie A football. Now, Italian leagues are always great, very strong defensive minded powerhouses. Wow, I can flip my words a lot, But anyways, besides the point, let's get right into some Serie A action and the most recent match day. And I'll talk about some implications I have for the table, but real quick, let's cover some of these games. So, Cagliari, Genoa. Now, both of these teams were kind of chilling around mid-table. Cagliari in 16th, they did need a result here to ensure safety. However, other teams have already lost, so they kind of were saved. So, Cagliari unfortunately lost 1-0 to a Genoa team. Eleanor Smuradov, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He scored in the 15th minute, and they held the lead. And then Valon Benrahma got sent off in the 83rd minute for Genoa. And from there, that was the final game of the season. Genoa ended the season in 11th, stuck kind of in a spot they can't really improve or not improve. So they ended the spot right in 11th of the season. And they haven't been awful this season. They've been pretty decent, and they kind of finished right in mid-table, hoping to improve on next year. Now, as we look back into more of the games that went on in this past match day on Saturday and Sunday, Sampdoria crushed Parma 3-0. Parma already bottom of the league, destined for relegation anyways. Easily trounced 3-0 by a Sampdoria team. They then climbed to ninth. Actually, not climb, stayed in ninth. They kind of can't really improve or go down, so they're kind of just stuck there. But yeah, Sampdoria kind of finished a spot in ninth of this season. And, this Sampdoria team has kind of always been in the middle of the table. Not really awful, not really the best team either, but yeah, they haven't been too, there's a lot of competition here, yeah. So they've been kind of right in the middle of the pack, kind of keeping up, but not really entirely. They're kind of that team in the middle between the top teams and then kind of towards the bottom half of the table. Like they're 7 points above 10th place Verona, but they're whole 10 points behind 8th place Sassuolo and 7th place Roma. So yeah, they've again very tough competition that they have to play there. Up next, we have Croton and Fiorentina. That was a 0-0 draw. Not a lot really happened in this game. And Fiorentina got a point, helped secure them safety. They're now up to 13th. And Croton got a point, but they're still stuck in 19th. They are going down, which is kind of unfortunate. But they are down to relegation. And, this game was pretty even. Croton actually had more possession with 55% compared to Fiorentina's 45%. With Croton have 13 shots on target compared to Fiorentina's 9, and 3 on target compared to Fiorentina's 2. And yeah, this game was just very even. Like there wasn't a lot really going on. It just was just kind of a standstill. So it's unfortunate. But up next, this game was not a standstill. This game was actually very interesting. Inter Milan 5, Udinese 1. Now, this game had a lot of goals. One from Ashley Young, Christian Eriksen, Lautaro Martinez had a penalty. Ivan Perisic, coming back from Bayern Munich, scored as well. And then Romelu Lukaku rounded out the scoring. And Inter Milan didn't even dominate possession. And of course, for Udinese, Robert Pereira scored in the 79th minute with a nice penalty. They didn't even dominate possession. Again, Inter Milan had 47% possession, but managed 15 shots with 7 on target. Udinese had 53% possession with 8 shots and only 2 on target, one of those being the penalty. And yeah, even Udinese was able to string more passes together. I don't know, this Udinese team kind of wasn't able to keep up with the strength of this Inter Milan team. Again, they are the champions. They will lift the trophy quite happily. Again, Inter Milan ends the season with 91 points, 28 wins, 7 draws, 3 losses. Compared to the Udinese team, they're in 14th. Alexis Sanchez's old stomping grounds. That goal is funny. So Alexis Sanchez gets the ball. Romelu Lukaku misses. Goalkeeper saves. Then Alexis Sanchez crosses the ball and it hits the post, and then it bounces, hits Romelu Lukaku right in the face and goes into the net. He was fine. The goal was good, but it was a really funny goal to watch. So that was his goal. But yeah, looking at this team, again, Udinese 14th with 40 points. They kind of couldn't gain much from this game. Kind of could jump up a few places, but they couldn't really do a ton of stuff. So yeah, that was all for the Serie A game. Again, as I talk about, Samir Handanovic has been their great keeper. He actually got subbed out this game, I think, with a little injury. But yeah, so that's that team as well. So looking into the next couple of games, Serie A kind of was tense up here. There's a lot of Champions League. This game was very important for the whole Champions League race. It was Atalanta Milan. Atalanta unfortunately lost 2-0 thanks to a very strong Inter Milan team, with goals from Frank Kessié, who had 2 penalties, one the 43rd minute and one to seal the game in the 90-plus third. And Martin de Roon in the 90-plus second minute got sent off with a challenge in the box, which could have gone either way, but he was straight redded, and Milan was able to capitalize, score the penalty. And it's unfortunate because actually Atalanta dominated this game with 13 shots, only 1 on target compared to Milan's 6 with only 2 on target, which were both penalties. Atalanta had 71% possession compared to 29%, and we're usually known for AC Milan having kind of possessive type football. And yeah, it was this game was very close. This Atalanta team really needed to win and hope that Napoli dropped points, and Napoli did, but Atalanta now are back in 3rd. Again, we'll talk about more of the results later. They are above goal difference right now with Juve, which is actually the next game we're going to talk about. But this Milan team was able to jump up to 2nd, and they kind of are chilling there right now with 79 points, 24 wins, 7 draws, 7 losses. Up next, I did say Bologna, Juventus. This game is very important. Franco Chiesa scored very early on the 6th minute. Alvaro Morata then got a brace in the 29th and 47th minute, and Adrien Rabiot chipped in with a goal in the 45th minute. However, Ricardo Orzagnoli, I think is how you pronounce his name, got a goal late on in the 85th minute, which is unfortunate, given it was unfortunate for not having a Szczesny clean sheet. But looking at the game and looking at what happened, this game was actually pretty even with possession. Juve only had 51% compared to Bologna's 49%. Bologna had 20 shots on target compared to Juve's, or 20 shots, not shots on target, 20 shots compared to Juve's 21 shots. But Juve had 9 on target compared to Bologna's 5. So Juve were much, much more clinical. And looking at this team, they needed to win this and hope Napoli dropped points. They leaped up to 4th with 78 points. And we'll talk about Napoli later because they kind of choked the bill. But this Juve was kind of languishing in 5th. And I think they qualified for Champions League. Andrea Pirlo's job might have been a little bit up in the air. But he didn't play Ronaldo, and a lot of people are like, why would you not play Ronaldo in a game that's super decisive? And apparently Ronaldo's just wanted a rest. He's been playing, he's their top goal scorer in Serie A, and the club top goal scorer right now. He's got 29 goals in Serie A. Romelu Lukaku is the kind of only one really close with 24. Then Luis Muriel has 22, and we kind of can go down from there. But looking at this, Juve really did need a rest. And again, he's got the Euros upcoming. This is probably his last ever international tournament for Portugal. He might be able to sneak another World Cup in next year, but it's kind of getting close to the end for Ronaldo's time on the international team. So I think just getting a rest and getting him prepared for this upcoming tournament. So that was the Juve Bologna game. I think, then again, Juve, Andrea Pirlo's done a pretty good job kind of steering this Juve ship. It's his first time managing. We all know how smart and how good of a player Pirlo was. So this did really help with, I guess, his first managerial season, kind of getting them into Champions League. They didn't have to win. Again, as we talked about, Serie A is getting tougher. Conte and all these other, Conte's Inter Milan, and all these other really good teams are kind of stepping up. Up next is Sassuolo Lazio, and again, this game was also pretty difficult. Sassuolo, they needed some points. Grigos Kriopoulos, I think is how you pronounce his name, scored in the 10th minute. Then Domenico Berardi, who's been talked about highly to get transferred elsewhere. I think Arsenal was linked for him a couple summers ago when he had that ridiculous season, but then he scored a 78th minute penalty. However, the goal scorer was actually sent off in the 61st minute, and it's kind of unfortunate to see. But he was sent off, and they needed the win to kind of get themselves up to 8th, right on level with AS Roma. However, they needed 4 more goals to beat them on goal difference. Not 4 more goals, 3 more goals to beat them on goal difference. And that just didn't happen, which is unfortunate. So Roma, I think, has their Conference League spot, and Sassuolo is going to miss out on that. Now, looking within this game, teams are kind of pretty similar. Sassuolo did dominate possession with 57 compared to the Lazio's 43%. Sassuolo had 10 shots compared to Lazio's 9, with 4 on target for Sassuolo compared to Lazio's 2. And again, Lazio kind of were stuck. They're kind of stuck right in 6th. All they had to do is they could play the game. I think they're kind of just resting some players. But as we look in the lineup, they didn't have a Milinkovic-Savic wasn't playing. I think he's been out with an injury recently. But Joao Carrera, a former Atletico striker, was in, but he couldn't really show up with much. Parolo was in the back, but he was carded. This team just felt like they were missing a lot of their talent. I think they're trying to rest some of their players because they do have international tournaments, or they are away. And Steven Inzaghi hasn't done a pretty bad job with his Lazio team. Again, getting them Europa League football, and especially in a very, very tough Serie A now. Every team's getting more and more competitive as owners are kind of revitalizing themselves within the league. So, and that, again, that was 6 versus 8. Kind of couldn't move much or do much there. But we go up next. Torino Benvenuto. Gelson Bremer scored early for Torino in the 29th minute, but Andrea Stella scored in the 72nd minute. Was able to kind of level up the scoring. The possession was pretty even. This Torino team had 11 shots to Benvenuto's 8, with 53% possession going to Torino, and then 47% for Benvento, I think is how you pronounce it. However, that did not, they kind of were doomed. This was against 17th versus 18th, and if Torino had lost, they would have been relegated. The winner of this was basically going through, and there's only a draw. So luckily Torino were able to stay up, but in 17th, but Benevento is going to go down to Serie B. And yeah, it's unfortunate. This game was pretty close. Again, I haven't seen a lot. If Andrea Bellotti was subbed on, I'm surprised he didn't start, especially in a game as important as this. I know Steven Zaza is there, an old striker from West Ham. Though I remember those days. He was playing at West Ham. But looking on throughout the rest of the games, there's only a couple more that we're going to cover. Napoli-Verona. Now, this one had huge implications for Champions League, especially for Napoli. All they needed was a point or a win, and they could have gotten into Champions League. Or not point or win, a win, and they would have been secure Champions League football. Juve or Atalanta would have dropped out. And looking at this, Napoli dominated possession. They have 56% possession to Verona's 44%. However, the game result was 1-1. Amir Radrami scored in the 60th minute, and David Faroni scored in the 69th minute, tie things up. From there, neither team could break the deadlock. Napoli had 16 shots, but only 2 on target, so they're just missing a lot of the net, compared to Verona's 8 shots with 3 on target. Again, another kind of testament to accuracy over everything, kind of being able to keep it in the game. They were just shooting, kept missing. Within pass accuracy as well, even though Napoli did have more passes, they had a less of a pass accuracy, 81% compared to Verona's 83%. And Verona was actually passing a lot less due to not having so much possession. They were able to make it count, able to kind of keep pressure on Napoli. Now, Verona were kind of locked in 10th. They couldn't really do a lot with it, so they were kind of stuck there, not doing too bad. But Napoli really needed this win, and that draw kind of screwed them over out of getting any sort of Champions League football, which is unfortunate. They could have easily jumped up to 3rd. Atalanta could have dropped to 4th, and Juve would have dropped out of Champions League for the first time in years. But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate to see that they kind of choked the bill right at the end. This Napoli team has always been good. They have they have like Lorenzo Insigne, Lozano, who we've always talked about, Victor Osimhen, who was at Lille last year, who everyone raved about, Peter Zielinski, Fabio Ruiz, Bakayoko, former Chelsea rejects there. They also have like Dries Mertens on the bench, who came on but didn't do enough. So Marco Rui, Ospina wasn't starting, which I thought was a very weird choice, but Meret has kind of proved his worth in the net. So it's unfortunate, but as we look down, Peter Zielinski, even though he did play, he didn't get assists this game. He has he has 10 assists, which is the 3rd best in La Liga this season, which is unfortunate. But it's not more, because he's been a solid player, and he'll be definitely playing for Poland at the upcoming Euros, right behind Lewandowski, which is going to be a very exciting dark horse team to watch. Finally, the last game we're going to talk about, Spezia and Roma. That's a 2-2 draw, very great game. Spezia jumped out to a 2-0 lead quite early with Daniele Verde with a 6-minute goal and Tommaso Pogba with a 38-minute goal. And then up after that, Stefan El Shaarawy pulled one back in the 52nd minute, and Hendrik Mkhitaryan, former Arsenal and Manchester United player, scored in the 85th minute. Now, look at the stats. Even though they did lead early on, Spezia did not dominate possession. They only had 17 shots with 8 on target compared to Roma's 14 with 10 on target. Spezia only had 43% possession compared to Roma's 57%. So their kind of quality kind of showed at the end. And Spezia has kind of secured they got themselves some security. They finished up in 15th this season. Not doing too bad as well, especially in this as Serie A is getting tougher and tougher each year. As we look, Roma has finished in 7th. I'm pretty sure that qualifies them for the Conference League, and they've had kind of a tough time getting into Champions League, into Europa League, especially as all these teams are kind of emerging. Atalanta emerging recently as well, made it another challenge as well. Hendrik Mkhitaryan also has 10 assists for this team, and he's kind of shown his worth as well. He kind of was a reject at a point in time for Arsenal and Manchester United, even though he did score that ridiculous back heel goal, and then Stephen Giroud decided to one-up him that one year. But yeah, So that's been all the games for the Serie A the last match day. But right now we're going to talk about some stats, who scored the most goals, who's been pretty close with goals as well. So again, starting off, most goals, Cristiano Ronaldo. He has 29, kind of cemented himself as one of the top players there. And I mean, he's one of the best players in the world. He's definitely one of the top players there for sure. Romelu Lukaku has also shown up with 24 goals. Luis Muriel has 22. Dusan Vlahovic, I think is how you pronounce it, from Fiorentina has 21 goals. And then tied for 5th is Ciro Immobile with 20 from Lazio. And Simon Takua Nakado, I think so. Nowako, I think I should pronounce his name. He's from Crotone. He has 20 goals, which is great for his season, but however, they're going back down to Serie B. We also are going to look at assists. Ruslan Melinskovi, has 12 assists. That name always tongue twister. Malinovsky, that name is tough. Those names are sometimes tough. Romelu Lukaku had 11 assists as well, so he's shown that he can provide on both ends for both his teammates and himself. And then tied for 3rd was Hendrik Mkhitaryan, Juan Cuadrado, and Peter Zielinski, all with 10. As we look deeper in, the most red cards were actually tied between Carmelo Lampos, Lico Ganis with 2, and Rodrigo De Paul from Udinese with 2, and Charles Lampos was from Cagliari, by the way. And then up next, there's a lot tied for 1 red card. I'm just going to read off names. Alvaro Morata, Amou Diarra, Abinez, Camille Glick, Luca Carrillo, Lucas Harasin, Martin Darun, Pasquale Sirica, Pedro, former Barcelona player, Sandro Tonali, Stefano Sensi, Thomas Rican, and Zlatan actually was sent off earlier on in the season. So there's some of the big stats coming out of Serie A. So as we look, upcoming news, he is one of the first. So I think he's finished top scorer now in all Serie A, Premier League, and La Liga for the first time. I think that's the first time any player's ever really done that. Apparently, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of talk about him moving on if they didn't get Champions League, but I think now that they've kind of secured him for another year, as they're paying quite a big contract and paid $100 million, £100 million, or euros, I think it was, to secure his fee and his services for the club. But Serie A, I think we covered it pretty in depth. But when we get back, we're going to talk about the German league real quick. This is the Bundesliga just wrapped up. Lewandowski finally broke 40 goals. That's going to be a big talk about that. We're going to dive into that. Then finally, we're going to wrap the season up with the new Champions League and how they kind of romped to the title, and we're able to kind of snuff out PSG for the title. So don't go anywhere. I will be right back. I'm your host, Colby Marshall, and I'll see you in a little bit.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Marshall. In the earlier 2 segments, if you didn't hear or you just somehow tuned out, zoned out, fell asleep, it happens. I get it. We talked about the Premier League, the last past match day 37, and upcoming match day 38, which is the last match day of the season. What implications that will have as well. We just finished covering Bundesliga as well as the champions Bayern, the other runners-up, RB Leipzig, Borussia Dortmund, as well as the relegation battle. We kind of covered their upcoming match day and what implications that could also have. Now, kind of moving away from both of those leagues, let's focus in the middle of Europe. Real quick, we're going to talk about both the French and Italian Cup final. Now, highly anticipated games. We both talked about these in earlier podcasts. In the Italian Cup, it was Juve versus Atalanta. Now, this game has a lot of hype. You know, the Atalanta is number 2 in Italy, and Juve is like around the 5th spot. And looking at this game had a lot of expectations, and it kind of delivered. It was a pretty exciting game. And, you know, it was always good to see an exciting game. To open up the scoring, they have Dejan Kulusevski, I think it's Kulusevski, as you pronounce his name, scored in the 31st minute, a nice, beautiful curler for Juve, right to open it up. And then in the 41st minute, Atalanta respond back through a Ruslan Malinovsky 41-minute strike. Now, he's actually been fantastic this season. You know, he's been doing well for this team. He's been right up there on the wing. He's been Cartney, Zapata, and Piazza in this game, or Pensia in this game. Kulivsky was up there with Ronaldo at top, and Chiesa was behind him on the left. And looking into this game as well, to finish the scoring, Federico Chiesa in the 73rd minute was able to score a great goal. And then Juve were able to hold out. Rafael Tioli, I think is how you pronounce his name, was also sent off for Atalanta in the 88th minute, kind of dooming their chance of getting another goal. And boom, the game ended like that, 2-1. Juve were able to lift the Coppa Italia, make up for not winning any European silverware, any not the Serie A this season. That went to Inter Milan. And that was Ronaldo's 34th career trophy. He's now officially one trophy behind Messi. That all can change depending on how La Liga finishes. It could be up to 2 or up to 3 if it depends on however the Spanish Cup works as well. So now looking at the team stats, Juve had 14 shots compared to Atalanta's 11, with 6 on target compared to Atalanta's 4. However, Juve were absolutely dominating possession. Atalanta had 58% possession to Juve's 42. Atalanta was able to string together over 500 passes, and Juve were only able to string around just 401. Pass accuracy was also in Atalanta's favor with 80 compared to 76. Juve was fouling more with 17 to 15. 5 yellow cards for Atalanta compared to Juve's 2. 1 red card, 1 for them, for Atalanta, not for Juve. 1 offsides for Atalanta, none for Juve, which is very untypical. I feel like there'd be a lot more offsides, especially with a very fast up front with Cristiano Ronaldo and Kulivsky. And then corners, Atalanta had 3, and Juve had 1. They were able to capitalize off of. Now, you know, we can say what we want about this game, but Ronaldo's able to lift in. You know, they're all celebrating in the locker room. That's great for them. Ronaldo's been, you know, his time in Juve has been kind of turmoilish, I would say. There's a lot going on within this game. Juve just couldn't, you know, keep up with the Juve could very well lose if they don't manage to qualify for Champions League, which I don't think they will be able to. So it's unfortunate, but if Ronaldo does leave, he is most likely heading to PSG. That's where a lot of the rumors are saying, and if that does happen, that would be very possible. Now, talking about the game a little bit more, there's a lot of cards, and a lot of the Atalanta right at the end were kind of losing their head. Just like right at the end, Tiolo was after fury. He was not even on the pitch. Tiolo got sent off, and it's unfortunate. But I mean, he wasn't even on the pitch. He was just so furious with the referee, and you know, it's sad. But you gotta be able to keep your cool, especially with players like this. As well, Kulusevski was subbed out early. They subbed in Bonucci to help tie up the game, and a lot was happening within this game. Matthijs de Ligt has been all right this season. He hasn't been fantastic, but he's been somewhat. But yeah, as I'll say, this Juve team at least was able to win some silverware. Andrea Pirlo has been a pretty decent manager. He just kind of was forced in there and just like do some work, and he needs some time. He needs an off season. He didn't really ever get one. So yeah. Need some time to work with this team. But yeah, so that's the Italian Cup. Right now we'll move on to France, and I talked about the French Cup. This all happened yesterday, by the way. So if as you're listening to this on Wednesday, these games were on, or is listening to this on Friday, these games were on Wednesday. I'm recording this on Thursday. Let's talk about Monaco PSG. Now this game was actually kind of close for a little bit of time until Mario Icardi scored early on in the 19th minute. Very simple, easy goal. And then a brilliant team goal in the 81st minute, allowed for Kylian Mbappe to cut through and finish it, kind of proving his worth to this PSG team. I mean, again, he's already been proved. He's like the most expensive teenager, and he is an absolutely great player. But looking at the Monaco stats, Monaco had 12 shots to PSG 7 with 1 on target compared to PSG 3. And then again, that just shows you clinicalness, and that shows you the difference between Mbappe and, that front three compared to Monaco and their firing power. Possession-wise, Monaco were actually outpossessed, which is what we would expect from this PSG team. PSG had 56% possession compared to Monaco's 44% possession. Passes, PSG were stringing around 620, and Monaco were just under 500 with about 488 passes strung. However, their pass accuracy was both the same. Both teams had 85% pass accuracy. Monaco was accumulating more fouls, with 15 fouls compared to PSG's 10, and 1 yellow card to PSG and none to Monaco. No red cards were dished out during the game. Both had 2 offsides and both had 5 corner in the Stade de France. Now, and we talked about Mario Icardi not really showing up, and he's been kind of very hit or miss this season. And he showed up in this game. He was able to get himself some nice goal, kind of give him some confidence back before this final game of the season, where they do have a chance to take the title. They play Brest, and this will be a tough game. If they win and hope Lille drop points, then they will win the title. But that is up to Lille. Let's see if Lille will be able to manage to win it and take it all for themselves and be able to kind of knock PSG off their throne that they've been riding on for a little bit of time, or if PSG are going to be able to win and Lille drop points. Now, Monaco have been doing all right this season. They haven't been the most impressive team. They haven't been the absolute worst team. They've been picking up some pretty good results. They play Lens on Sunday, and that's going to be a kind of a close game. Again, we'll probably cover the ends of the leagues and who has won and all of that. And now looking at who they have, Alexander Golovin was kind of good this game, so says Fabregas, but they just weren't doing enough. Once Ben Yedder missed a couple of chances, and Jovetic hasn't really shown up in a lot of these games. And it's sad. This team is seriously good. And as we look at the starting lineup, Golovin, Kevin Volland set out wide, but he got subbed out. He just didn't show up and wasn't great. Again, Cesc Fabregas came on in the second half, same with Gelson Martins, we all kind of know him from, I think he went to Atletico Madrid, didn't really show up, and I think he's on loan at Monaco. And Sevan Jovetic, the former Man City striker, came on from Wilson Ben Yedder, but wasn't able to do enough. And then throughout this game, the PSG was missing Neymar, and that's kind of a big miss, but however, they still were able to show up that they can play without him, and both Mbappe and Icardi both got goals, but however, Icardi was subbed out in the middle of the game for Moise Kean, give him some game time as well. So, that's all the cup games, and again, PSG were able to win quite comfortably, and, this team could have, this Monaco team does have a lot of room for improvement. I'm excited to see where they can go next year. I think they need a really good defensive midfielder and another striker to partner Ben Yedder and, be kind of, not like partner, I guess be a backup for both Jovetic and Ben Yedder. I'm excited to see where this team can seriously land. And as well, another center back could not hurt. I know Daniel Sidibe has been great at the right fullback spot, and Enrique has been kind of holding it down. But I don't know, I feel like there's more from this team that we need to see. So, moving on from there, and that's been about 10 minutes of this segment, which is great timing. Let's talk about some goals of the season, own goals of the season. Now, I'm going to kind of dive into some of these goals for a little bit of time. I need, there's been a lot, and especially I can go on, and I'll start reading off with a couple. So, let's talk. Reece James versus Brighton. Now, I saw that goal live, and I kind of was sitting with two of my boys from the World Football Illuminati. Shout out Mike and Nick. I think I was sitting with you guys, or sitting with two Chelsea fans, but shout out World Football Illuminati, as always. And that goal was ridiculous. That was one of the best goals I've seen in a minute, and that was a great goal to watch. And, top corner, easy, done. Like, that just looks very effortless. As well, we have Jadon Sancho versus RB Leipzig in the DFB Pokal. Again, showing up at a pretty big game. And I know he just cut through that defense, goes around, scores quite easy. Just the run alone, and then the strike was great as well. Bruno versus Everton, again, classy strike, just right into the top corner. Pogba versus West Ham, and I know Paul Pogba has been getting some hate. He hasn't really shown up for this, Manchester United team. He's, they've won the most expensive players in the world at the time when he transferred. And he kind of he's been there for 5 years now. And we kind of, he's been in and out with injury, and he hasn't been the best player. And, a lot of people are like, well, when will the real Pogba, the Juve Pogba show back up? The one that everyone was touting for, the one who was fantastic. And we haven't seen it yet. So, it's sad, but it is a harsh reality. As well, Cavani versus Fulham. Let's talk about that goal. That goal was ridiculous. I know in the replay it looked like Bruno touched it, but I'm pretty sure he did not. I'm pretty sure he dummied it through right to Cavani, who was wide open, and sees the keeper a couple yards out and decides to hit it. Goes right into the top corner. Fantastic strike. But yeah, that's a solid goal. I saw that yesterday, and I was like, oh wow. Up next, Lanzini versus Tottenham. That goal is great. That goal picks out the top corner, easy as you like, kind of finesses it in. I don't even know. It's just a great goal to watch. As well, Lamella's Rabona versus Arsenal, which is unfortunate as an Arsenal fan to watch, but that was a great game. Rabona was a great goal, and even though it was kind of a bottom corner, just the fact that he decided to be cheeky and take it, I give props, because that is tough to do, especially live in the middle of a game, when you kind of aren't just fooling around with your friends, like, oh, I'm just going to Rabona it for fun. Doing it in a game is a lot different, especially because it could have gone horribly, horribly wrong, as we've seen Rabonas in games go. As well, Alisson's header, and again, keeper goals are very rare. Alisson's header, though, in the 95th minute, that's special. That's always good to see. And basically the last touch of the game was that header, so it's good to see keepers get a goal. And the header he went out for, dude, that was a bullet into the top right corner. He goes up, he leaps for that. I think I just saw LeBron James on the screen for a second. I realized, I blinked my eyes and realized it was Alisson. But that was a great goal. As well, Weston McKennie is a scissor kick. I don't remember specifically who this was against, and I feel bad for not remembering. But I just remember, I think it was Juve. I don't know, but he goes up. He kind of side bikes it. And not even a full bike, but a side bike. And man, did that thing fly. Flew right into the corner. Easy as you like. Fantastic goal. Up next, the Hilaire bike. Sebastian Hilaire's bike versus Crystal Palace. That was great. He kind of takes it up on his own. He's like, you want to know what? I'm going for it. And boom, nails it right into the top corner. Now, from there, Luke Thomas's first PL goal. I know I mentioned this in one of the other podcasts, but that's a great strike for your first ever Premier League goal. And I'll talk about another first ever Premier League goal in a little bit. But he kind of takes on his right foot right into the top left corner over the keeper. Keeper didn't even move. And he was kind of in the box, but at a really tough angle. And the angle is kind of between the 6-yard box and the penalty, but you're kind of towards the corner. That's a really tough angle to hit that top corner at. On the volley, too. What looked like to be a volley. So he kind of took that on one. Took that real nice right into the top corner. Boom. Great goal. As well, Ferran Torres kind of had the that goal kind of spins around, flicks it with his foot right into the top corner. It's almost like a chip, but also a goal. That was a fantastic goal as well. That got a lot of Premier League fans that I know excited, because he's young. That's a very exciting prospect from Man City. So it's always good to see when prospects start pulling up with goals as well. Up next, we have Taremi's bike kick for Porto versus Chelsea in the Champions League. That goal was great. That is my. I will say this now before we kind of rank these. That is my number one goal. If that's gonna win a Puskás Award, that's the goal to win it, because that is special. He just shows up. There's 8 Chelsea players in that box. Decides to bike it and just pulls it off perfectly with great form. I'm just like, wow. Kind of gave me the Bale kind of vibe when he scored in that Champions League final, even though Taremi's is in, quarterfinal against Chelsea, not too much importance. It still was a great goal, and if that was the goal to equalize and send it to overtime, man, that would have been great. But finally, last but not least, Yilmaz's goal versus Lens. That was a rocket of a goal. He kind of took that pretty far out, so I had to smash into the top corner. Very simple, easy as you like. Now, I'm going to do like my top 5 from this list. There was a lot of goals we just talked about. So, from there, let's rank. So, as I've said, Taremi's goal for Porto against Chelsea. That's my number one goal this season. I think there's no goal that's been better this season by any other player that's been more clinical. Up next, I say I'm going to go with Lindzini's goal versus Tottenham. That was great. It's a good goal to see, and he just absolutely bullets it right into the corner. And then in third, I'm going to go with Luke Thomas's first goal. Just the technique alone is tough, and especially the angle too, even harder. So I give my respect, especially for a first PL goal. What a way to show up. As well, I'll go 4 for Ferran Torres. He'll be my 4th. And that goal was great too. And then number 5, we'll go Weston McKennie's scissor kick. Honorable mention goes to Cavani versus Fulham. That's kind of the one I was debating on. But Weston McKennie's scissor kick was special. It's always good to see an American get a great goal as well abroad. So that's all the greatest goals. No, excuse me. But now, for own goals, there wasn't really a lot. For starters, there's Rudiger versus Sheffield. That goal is kind of hilarious. That was very bad. Aubameyang kind of flicked it into his own net against Burnley. He should have done that on the other side, but he just didn't. And then finally, Varane versus Shakhtar. He kind of basically toes it into his own net, and that's unfortunate. But the best own goal of the season was Reguilon versus Villa. I don't think I've seen a more clinical own goal in years. I think there's like a clip online. I don't remember what team. But the guy's trying to back pass it to the keeper, and it gets like a little bit of air on it, and it just soars into the top corner. And he's like, oh. But this Reguilon goal, he tries to clear it. I think he hits the side of his foot, just miscoordinates it, flies off his foot into the top corner. Lloris had no chance of saving that. Or, I mean, he could have done better, but pretty much like you're not expecting that to come back at you as you're a keeper. So it's unfortunate. But in terms of best own goals, Reguilon's got to be number 1. Aubameyang's header against Burnley's number 2. Varane versus Shakhtar's number 3. And we're going to honorable mention Rudiger versus Sheffield. I mean, own goals, it's hard to come by really good own goals. A lot of them are just unlucky deflections, unintentional, like, I guess, back passes. But these couple were great own goals that were just towed into the net, flicked header, unlucky. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to rank these goals and own goals and stuff, and everyone has their own point of view. But I think those were some of the best ones we covered. I think we also covered the Italian Cup great and the French Cup great as well. But when we come back for this upcoming final segment, we're going to dive into how we're going to fix Arsenal. We're going to also dive into Everton. We're going to also dive into Newcastle to perform better next season. Don't you dare turn that dial. I will be right back. You're listening to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. And don't you dare turn that dial.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And welcome back to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Marshall. If you somehow fell asleep or just completely tuned out to my monologuing and ridiculous rambling, earlier on in the episode we talked about the last match day for Premier League, for Bundesliga, and for Italy as well. So after that, now we're going to talk about France. We're kind of take a little flight over, go to France. There's a new champion now. And also real quick, I think they've stopped power washing, so there should not be too much background noise. I don't know how well. I'm going to do my best in post, make sure everything sounds all right. But yeah, so today they decided to power wash their condo where I'm staying at on vacation, as I'm chilling here in Sanibel Island. But it's a lovely day out. But yeah, I'm going to get this out. I'm going to go out, enjoy the beach for you guys. So that being said, let's jump right into the episode, and let's talk right now about some Ligue 1 soccer. Now, the league is wrapped up. Everything is finished. So let's talk about the champions. Lille are now the champions. They were able to overcome this Angers team 2-1. Quite easy game. Jonathan David scored in the 10th minute to give themselves a lead, and then Burak Yilmaz scored a penalty in the 45th minute. And then a late scare by Angelo Fulgini in the 90th plus second minute. But that wasn't enough to hold away this Lille team. They won 1-1. They were able to beat PSG up to the title, and congrats to them. They were able to kind of successfully. PSG had before this won the title in 7 out of the past 8 seasons. Besides that, one Monaco year, and now it's 7 out of 9 because of this Lille team. Now, looking at this game, this Lille team was actually down in possession. They had 5 shots, 2 on target, 42% possession. They kind of just let them try to attack them, just soaked in all the pressure and was able to counter quite well. This Angers team had 11 shots, 4 on target with 58% possession. Again, this Angers team was close. They couldn't really do enough. Angers kind of were sitting in 13th. They couldn't really do a lot, but this Lille team really needed to win to keep PSG away. There was no other result that was going to be able to save them. So, good for them. They're able to stay in as well. So, big up Lille. They have won. It's always good to see players like Renato Sanchez lift the title. Jonathan David as well. He's been great. Burak Yilmaz as well, the pride of Turkey. It's been fantastic. Besides the Lille game, we're going to cover some of the other games as well. And then we're going to just kind of do a nice recap of what players have really stood out this season as well when we're done with this. So, St. Etienne Dijon. This game I thought was going to be a lot closer as Dijon were in the bottom of the league. And actually, Dijon came out as winners, 1-0. I thought St. Etienne would be able to kind of take advantage as they're kind of chilling in mid-table and Dijon are at the bottom. Abaku Kamara scored in the 39th minute, gave them 1-0, and they were able to hold on to the rest of the game as St. Etienne had 19 shots, 5 on target, 66% possession, but just couldn't manage that goal. And Dijon had 10 shots, 2 on target, 34% possession. Were able to kind of just take one goal and kind of sit back, absorb the pressure. They were very close to getting scored on, but luckily able to get away with the result. It doesn't save them, unfortunately. They are down. They are 21st. They were in 20th. I mean, not 21st. They have 21 points. They have 4 wins, 9 draws, 25 losses from this past season. So they will be going down below. Now, up next on these upcoming games, talk about Lyon-Nice. Lyon and Nice. I mean, did I say Lyon-Nice? Lyon and Nice. Again, Lyon jumped out early. Karl Toko Ekambi scored in the 14th minute. Kasper Dolberg, former Ajax striker, scored in the 27th minute. And then Ekambi scored in the 40th minute. Kind of 2-1 at halftime. And then Hassan Kamara scored in the 50th minute. And William Saliba, who's on loan from Arsenal, scored in the 57th minute. Scored the winner. Ended the game 3-2 to them. And this game was actually pretty close. Lyon did have the majority of possession, 55-45, but it was close. Nice did have more shots with 14 compared to 12. Both had 6 on target. And both had a pretty similar pass accuracy, with Lyon only having 84% pass accuracy compared to Nice's 83. And this did have a little bit of implications for the table. If Lyon was able to win, they would have been able to leap over Monaco, get into the 3rd spot, get into Champions League. But other than that, they are now in the Europa League group stage. They don't really have to go through any playoffs. I think Rennes will have to, and I think then one of the teams below them might go to the Conference League. So that's that. They don't really give an indication. I'm pretty sure it's 6th or 7th goes to the Conference League in this league. But yeah, so Lyon were unfortunately unable to capitalize and kind of ended the season on a loss, which is unfortunate because I know Memphis Depay is a great player, but he wasn't able to do a lot this game. He was kind of shut down quite quickly. And it just feels like he's already on his way out as well. Aouar, was linked to Arsenal last summer, I think it feels like he's on his way out as well, as he was subbed off kind of quite early in the game. Not quite early season, he was subbed off in potentially what could be his final season, as a lot of people are taking him up for his interest, as he is a talented baller. Now, moving away from Lyon and Nice, let's talk about Reims and Bordeaux. Bordeaux were able to come out 2-1 winners. Biel El Torre scored early for Reims. However, Yassi Aldi and Enoch Kouatang scored. Aldi in the 44th minute kind of tied up before half, and then Ikonang right in the 58th minute. We're kind of beginning the second half. They were able to kind of ride out the victory. Good. Bordeaux didn't have a lot of possession. A lot of these winning teams don't have all the possession. 44% compared to Reims' 56%. Bordeaux had 12 shots compared to Reims' 10, with 5 on target from Bordeaux compared to Reims' 3. And even though this team, it doesn't really matter much for these teams. Both these teams were 12th and 14th, kind of mid-table, both safe from the drop. A Reims result would have definitely made being up a little bit more safer. They could have all dropped down. It could have gotten a little bit close. But the Bordeaux kind of came away with the result, guaranteed definitely safety and not a risk of a whole kind of bottom half reshuffling. So big up Bordeaux. They're able to come away with a nice, easy victory, 2-1. Not easy, excuse me. Nice victory, 2-1. Up next is Lens and Monaco. Monaco needed a win from this. If they got a win, they would have qualified for Champions League. And they didn't get the win. There was a 0-0 draw. Not a lot kind of really happened this game. This game was kind of pretty stagnant. Lens actually was dominated in possession. Monaco had 66% possession, 19 shots, 3 on target compared to Lens' 4, with 1 on target and 34% possession. They were just kind of able to weather the storm of this Monaco team who really did want to win. But however, due to Lyon dropping points, they still got a point and were able to kind of keep the 3rd spot. So they just have to play through the Champions League qualifiers, which is going to be tough. A lot of teams don't like going through it, don't like playing through these. But looking at this Lens team, they're going to finish a pretty productive year right in 7th. Possibly enough to get the Conference League. So we'll see how that works out for them. They've been pretty impressive this season. They got promoted a couple years ago. Have not been bad at all. Up next, we have Rennes and Nimes. Rennes came out with victory. Nice, easy 2-0 victory. Rosiger Grassi scoring the 24th minute, and Benjamin Bourguard scoring the 50th minute. Again, this is a very simple game. Nimes are 19th. They are destined to go down anyway, so it didn't really matter much for them. Rennes had 12 shots, 6 on target, with 69% possession, compared to Nimes' 9 shots, 2 on target, 31% possession. Kind of just easily outclassed. Reims had 832 passes with a 93 pass accuracy, which is great to see. That's a very kind of a Pep Guardiola type of passing system. And I mean, Rennes team has been kind of competing in Europe for the past couple of years, but Ganiso, their manager, has done a great job. I know Steven Nzonzi, French cap, is in there, and they've kind of held down. They've not done too bad of a job, and right now Rennes is in 6th. They kind of are close, very close to this Marseille team. They just need another win to kind of sneak into the Europa League group stages. I think they either have to do a qualifier or further Europa League, or they will go to the Conference League. Just depends on how they're doing that. As I'm looking here, they kind of don't have that specifically specified. So, yeah, we'll have to see where Rennes end up. They played pretty solid this year, especially with some tough games. Up next, Brest and PSG. Again, PSG were able to walk out 2-0 victories, but it just wasn't enough to win the title and beat Lille, as they were able to win in their game. Romain Farvi scored an own goal in the 37th minute, so PSG went to halftime, was 1-0 up, and Kylian Mbappe scored another goal as he is now as he was the top goal scorer, 26. Now he has 27 in this past season for Ligue 1. Undoubtedly one of the best teenagers, very generational talent, and they were able to walk out 2-0 victors. PSG, again, dominated this game, 64% possession, 9 shots, 4 on target. Brest had 6 shots, 5 on target with a 36% possession. It just very easy to walk all over the park. However, Brest were able to stay up by the skin of their teeth with 41 points. It was a very, very close game. And yeah, so as they walk away with a defeat, which is unfortunate, they're able to see out they get another chance in Ligue 1, and it'll be exciting to see. But again, Kylian Mbappe is kind of showing his worth. He's now kind of playing the central striker, not really on the wing, as Di Maria's out on the right and Neymar's out on the left. Kind of a really nice system within this team. And it just, I don't know, I felt like this team needs more, attacking midfielding. I guess they don't really have a good balance in the midfield. It either feels too defensive or too offensive. And then they just need to find that balance. Again, Mauricio Pochettino needs a little bit more time. I guess you can take the Spurs out of Pochettino. You could take Pochettino out of Spurs, but you can't take the Spurs out of Pochettino, as they were just shy of that title. That's unlucky. Up next, Strasbourg-Lorient. This game is a very, very simple game. It's a 1-1 draw. Habib Diallo scored in the 18th minute, and Trevor Choblath, I think he's on loan from Chelsea, scored in the 55th minute to equalize, and that secured Lorient staying up, and both Strasbourg staying up. Both teams are very close, 15th and 16th in the table. A draw was just enough to keep them both up. Again, the stats are pretty close. Strasbourg had 6 shots, Lorient had 7. Strasbourg also had 2 shots on target compared to Lorient's 1. 52% for Strasbourg compared to 48% possession for Lorient. Again, game is very close, very similar. Wasn't really a lot to take away from this game. These teams are both kind of staying up. They have another chance to repeat in the league, and we'll see how well they're going to be able to do in this upcoming season. Now, moving on, we got 2 games left. Nantes and Montpellier. This game was very important. If Nantes was able to win this, they could have reshuffled the entire bottom half of the table, leaped themselves up to safety. Brest would have fell down in Lorient, and depending on all the results, this table could look vastly different. However, they weren't able to overcome a Montpellier team. Montpellier scored early with a Gaëtan Laborde strike in the 30th minute, and then Rando Colomwani was able to score in the 33rd minute, 33rd minute. And then later on in the game, in the 76th minute, Andy Delort was able to seal the game with a 76th-minute strike, and that ended the game. Again, this game was actually kind of close. Nantes had 15 shots. Montpellier had 8. Nantes had 5 on target, as well as Montpellier also had 5. Possession was actually pretty close. Montpellier barely dominated with 52% compared to Nantes' 48%. Both teams couldn't really pass, though both had about 75% pass accuracy. And Montpellier ends the season in 8th, just shy of being able to qualify for the Conference League, but were able to finish above Nice as well. But Nantes were unfortunately not able to kind of get out of their relegation playoff, and they will play that upcoming game soon. And it's unfortunate to see. Finally, the last game in Ligue 1 is Marseille and Mets. And this game actually was ridiculous. This game, there's no goals in regular time. All the goals came in added time. Farad Boya scored a 90th plus 7th minute penalty to give them a 1-0 lead. And if you couldn't thought the game could get any longer, Arkadiusz Milik, former Napoli striker, scored a 90th plus 14th minute penalty. Now, there was a ton of extra time. They added on 10, and then a penalty added on more, and they had a couple substitutions later on in the game. In the game, even though it was a 1-1 draw, Marseille dominated. They had 9 shots, 2 on target, 65% possession with an 86 pass accuracy. Mets had only 10 shots, 3 on target, 35% possession, and an 80% pass accuracy. And this Mets team kind of was stuck in mid-table. They couldn't really do much, so they just moved up a point above Saint Etienne. And Marseille couldn't really do much either. As long as they got a point, they were safe above Rennes, and they did. And so they ended the season in 5th with 60 points, which is 16 wins, 12 draws, 10 losses. And they've been having kind of a tough time. Dimitri Payet has been showing up for them. He got booked in this game. He didn't really show up a ton. Arkadiusz Milik got that penalty goal. But we'll have to see if Dimitri Payet is going to stay. He's got a lot of interest for him over the summer, or is going to have a lot of interest from over the summer. He has shown up in this season. Again, he is the second top assist maker with 10 assists. He's been great for this team. He's also one of their top goal scorers as well. So that's all for the Ligue 1 games, and we're going to talk about kind of top goal scorers and who has done extremely well in this league. Again, big up Lille. I mean, players like Renato Sanchez, who we kind of all assumed was a kind of a flop. He came out, he's winning a league title. Burak Yilmaz as well kind of deserves this as well. He's always been a prolific goal scorer for both like Turkey and for all of the clubs that he's been playing for. Again, we also have Timothy Weah, who's the son of legend Weah, the legend Weah, as we all know. If you know him in FIFA, he's a nightmare to play against. But yeah, it's exciting to see all these players and getting it's always good to see new players, and especially Jonathan David, an American, lifting the Ligue 1 title as well. Now, looking at the best, most goals, and we're going to go down through, Kylian Mbappe dominated the goals, 27 goals. The next closest was Memphis Depay from Lyon, 20 goals, tied with Vincent Ben Yedder with 20. And then up there, there's a big tie for fourth. You have Gaëtan Laborde from Montpellier with 16, Burak Yilmaz from Lille with 16, Kevin Volland from Monaco, not Lille, with 16 as well. And then Ludovic Ajorque from Strasbourg with 16. And as well, assists, Memphis Depay had 12 assists, Dimitri Payet with 10, Zinedine Ferrat for Nimes also had 10 assists. He actually played a great season even though they're going down. Alexander Golovin, who was the World Cup 2018 Russia star, has 9 assists from Monaco. Andy Delort with 9 assists. Angel Di Maria with 9. And Jonathan Bamba with 9 assists as well. And looking at red cards, Montero Casamia for Reims, or Kasama for Reims, had 3 cards. 3 red cards, and then the rest of all had 2. I'll just read down the names. Abou Diallo, Axel Diassi, Clement Michelin, Diaro Benedetto, Dimitri Payet, Florent Mollet, Florian Miguel, John Boy, Marcelo, Neymar, Vitorino Hilton, and Wu Faiz. Those guys all had 2 red cards. This Ligue 1, again, it's always good to see another team. This Lille team has been outstanding. Jonathan David is showing his prowess. Timothy Weah is a very exciting forward to watch. They're learning under the great Burak Yilmaz. I mean, he's kind of showing that he can actually stand up. But, yeah. But other than that, guys, I think we've kind of covered Ligue 1 and kind of the full time. Again, I want to say thank you all for listening. I know this exciting. This Ligue 1 and a lot of all the other leagues have been pretty exciting this year. But we're going to see how well everything is going to go. We have the Euros are coming up quite soon. We can talk about, we're going to talk about all the Euros, their squad, who's taking who to which squad. We're also going to talk about what to predict in this upcoming group stage as well. So stay tuned in next week. We'll kind of get ready into international football as well. Transfer rumors are going to stop popping up now that kind of the end of the season is here. As well, I forgot to mention, we didn't really cover Spain, but Atletico were able to steal the title away from Barcelona and Real Madrid. So big up Atletico. It's always good to see. Again, they're underdogs too. It's always good to see them win, especially in a very tough La Liga where it's usually a 2-horse race. It's kind of hard to be the third. Being the third leg, third wheel. But that's all for me, guys. I want to say thank you all. I hope everyone's gonna have a fantastic summer. Make sure you spend time with your family. Enjoy yourselves. And that's gonna be all from me. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Colby Marshall from the GSMC Podcast Network. This is for the GSMC Soccer Podcast. Make sure you tune in on Thursday. I'm going to talk about Euros, everything you want to know. We're also going to go over a little bit of MLS too. So hopefully I hear you then. Make sure you keep listening to the GSMC Soccer Podcast. Make sure you listen to the other hosts as well. I'm not the only guy. There's other guys who are going to be out on other days, so make sure you listen to them. But thank you all for listening and have a splendid rest of your day.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.